The early points was the lack of a process for individual volunteers to express their opinions and get them up through the chain. And right now the bylaw requires them to report to their superior officer that's working that day. They mentioned an association and having one, and I am going to ask the chief to convene a meeting with them, the volunteers, in the next 2 weeks to discuss an association. I think it's the lowest hanging of the fruit. It would provide a method for this group to get its opinions known to council through representatives that they choose, and as opposed to having multiple every month meeting with the volunteers. So that's the first one we're going to ask to move on, and use that association to dive deeper into the other matters that they brought up.
Okay, thank you. And so would anyone like to ask questions or comment on that? Mayor Lorden?
A question, and then I'll follow with a comment. But just to be clear, Mr. Manager, then that in order to action what you've just laid out, that would require an amendment to an existing bylaw? That's
eventually, once we get this up and running, I don't think it's going to be an impediment to having discussions with them. But there will be bylaw amendments coming as a result of these discussions, yes. Recommended bylaw amendments.
Okay, sorry. So then the actual effort to establish some sort of an association does not require a bylaw adjustment? No,
this is trying to make this work and set up a process for communication. I just don't think we're going. It's not meant to address the I'm a volunteer and I have a specific question. It's hard to explain, but if it's necessary to ignore that provision of the bylaw moving forward, we're probably prepared to. This is about creating a system. I think council wants to know there's open dialogue and ways for these individuals to communicate. So if it comes down to ignoring that, we will ignore that and have it replaced with this association, I guess.
Okay, yeah, I guess then I'll take that and just sort of speak a bit to it in that I certainly would be supportive of what you've laid out and making that action happen quickly. I would also, favor eventually putting that into some sort of policy. So if they were told, as we heard from them, at some point in the last few years that they weren't allowed to have the representation that they previously had, I would just like to make sure that this new version of representation is put into some sort of a policy so that in the future, maybe none of us are here, they can't arbitrarily be told again, oh, well, you just can't have that. I guess I'm looking to enshrine these improvements into some sort of policy of the city so that they're tangible and written down and people can access them.
The intention is to enshrine them in the bylaw. Like I think it's very fundamental and important, yes, so they will be put in there. That's our intention anyway. Okay. And I'll just clarify, it's important that we be on the same page of what an association is. And these are volunteer firemen. It cannot in any way be a union. This is not a body that you can negotiate with. That is over the line. So we have to sit down and get on the same page on what the role of the association would be or would follow. And I'm pretty confident we can do that in fairly short order.
Okay, thank you. So we'll look forward to that. And